Selection Sunday, we are now within 2 weeks. It is 13 days away. So to discuss the field of 68, joining Doug is the bracketologist Joe Lunardi. Joe is in Philadelphia. Joe, another wild weekend. Duke, Texas, Pitt going down. Who are your four number ones right now?
Our number one seeds are 2 and 6 in the last 2 weekends. Doug knows that. But the number one seeds in order as we speak: Ohio State at the top, Kansas next, BYU, and Pittsburgh. The choice was Pitt or Duke for the fourth number one. The other three were pretty solid.
Doug, who are yours?
They'd be the same, except I would still have Texas over BYU. And Joe, my logic behind it is the number one seed is a reward. It's a reward not just for stellar play in conference. What do you do on the road? And I know you're going to come back with BYU's road numbers. But also what you do out of conference and how do you schedule up. Now, BYU plays a decent out-of-conference schedule. Arizona, UCLA, split those two, essentially home and away, quote-unquote neutral sites. Utah State, they play every year, and St. Mary's. You compare that to Texas and what they challenge themselves with. Pittsburgh in Madison Square Garden, a 2-point loss. Played Carolina in Greensboro, a win. Played Michigan State, a preseason top 10. And I know numbers-wise it doesn't help them as much. But you consider those wins that they had out of conference and how they challenge themselves. Go to USC, get beat on the road. Probably same thing would have happened to BYU. And then within conference, they don't get the benefit of having Kansas come and play them at their place. Instead, they have a monster victory. You got a 2-point loss and a win on the road at 2-year 1 seeds. I still think Texas is the 1 seed, especially considering they have a chance to win at Baylor, Kansas State at home tonight. I think Texas has a better resume in terms of pure wins than BYU does.
Joe, make your case for BYU and not Texas. Currently number 8, again, Texas, but there's plenty of basketball to be played in the next 13 days leading up to this. So, but until they do, make your case for BYU.
If it was close, I would absolutely take Texas and their win at Kansas, putting them up to the top line. But it's really not close. The non-conference schedule strength for BYU is actually 14th, and they're 15-1 against that schedule. 14-1 against Texas. They're 74th in the non-conference, and they've got extra non-conference losses. So, Doug, on this one, it's really BYU across the board in terms of number of losses, schedule strength, both overall and non-conference. And then, of course, in the what have you done for me lately category, Texas has lost 2 of its last 3.
Texas has also played a far more difficult stretch of road games against potential bubble teams with Nebraska and Colorado. Look, I'm with you. Generally, I do fall back on some of the numbers, but I'll only point this out. Of the 10 true road victories BYU has, okay, 8 of them are 100 and below. So they loaded up on road wins against, and then you're counting a Colorado State and a UNLV, 2 at best bubble teams. I think UNLV is going to get in largely on the back of 1 win over Wisconsin going back to the first month and a half of the season. I like BYU, not a shot at BYU. I just think we're falling a little bit in love with the numbers based on the Arizona win, played essentially on a home court, and the latest wins against San Diego State. They dominated their conference, and they got the Arizona win. Outside of that, there's not a ton to fall in love with.